The last thing I remembered from my first life was the smell of chlorine and the weight of water filling my lungs. They found me floating face down in the infinity pool of a Malibu rental at 4 in the morning, my white Versace gown ballooning around me like a jellyfish. The coroner called it accidental drowning. The tabloids called it a tragic end to a troubled starlet. My manager called it unavoidable on a tearful Good Morning America segment, dabbing at dry eyes with a Kleenex. No one called it murder. But I knew. In those final seconds, as my vision tunneled and my lungs screamed, I'd seen her face through the water's rippling surface, my co-star Madison Chen, her expression blank as a mannequin's, watching me sink. She'd held my shoulders under until I stopped thrashing. The last thing I'd felt was her diamond bracelet scraping my collarbone, the one I'd complimented at the premiere 3 hours earlier. Then nothing. Then everything. I woke up to the sound of an alarm clock blaring Ariana Grande and the morning light streaming through polyester curtains that smelled like cigarette smoke and broken dreams. My body felt wrong, lighter, younger, unfamiliar. I sat up in a twin bed with a metal frame, my heart hammering against ribs that didn't remember drowning. The room was small, aggressively small. Posters of old Hollywood icons peeled from walls painted the color of weak tea. A communal bathroom door stood ajar across a narrow hallway, revealing cracked tile and a rust-stained sink. Through the window, I could see the 101 freeway, cars streaming past like blood cells through an artery. This wasn't my Venice Beach apartment. This wasn't my life. I stumbled to the mirror above a scratched IKEA dresser and froze. The face staring back at me was mine, but younger, softer. 22 instead of 27. No trace of the hollow-eyed exhaustion I'd worn like a second skin in those final months. My hair was mousy brown, not the platinum blonde my manager had insisted on. My skin was clear of the stress acne I'd hidden under layers of MAC foundation. I was back. 6 years back, to be exact. I knew because the calendar on the wall showed March 2019, and the acceptance letter pinned above it read, "Congratulations. You have been selected for the Elite Artists Management Internship Program." My hands started shaking. I gripped the edge of the dresser until my knuckles went white. I'd lived this day before. This was the beginning the internship that had launched my career. The program where I'd met Madison, where I'd been discovered by the producer who'd eventually orchestrated my destruction when I refused his advances. This was where it had all started to go wrong. The door burst open without a knock. Jesus. Lily, are you still in your pajamas? We're supposed to be there in 40 minutes and you know traffic's gonna be hell. She stopped mid-sentence, her Starbucks cup halfway to her glossed lips. Vanessa Park, my stepsister. My father's new wife's daughter thrust into my life when I was 17 and she was 19. In my first life, I'd tried so hard to bond with her, to be the sister she'd claimed she always wanted. I'd shared everything, my contacts, my auditions, my dreams. She'd smiled to my face and undermined me at every turn. Now, looking at her standing in my doorway in her Lululemon leggings and off-shoulder sweater, her black hair perfectly curled, her face a mask of impatient concern, I felt nothing but cold recognition. She looked exactly as I remembered, beautiful in that calculated Instagram way, contouring sharp enough to cut, lashes like spider legs, lips overlined into a permanent pout. She smelled like vanilla and ambition, a sickly sweet cloud that made my stomach turn. "Sorry," I said, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. "I'll be quick." Her eyes narrowed slightly, as if she'd detected something off in my tone. "You okay? You look weird." "Just nervous." I forced a smile. "Big day, right?" "Huge day." She took a long sip of her iced coffee, her acrylics clicking against the plastic cup. "I mean, for you especially. This internship is literally your only shot. It's not like you have the training I have." There it was, the casual dig wrapped in concern. In my first life, I'd internalized every one of these comments, let them burrow under my skin like parasites. Now I just nodded. You're right. I'm lucky to be here. Something flickered across her face, satisfaction, maybe, or suspicion. Exactly. So don't screw it up by being late. She turned on her heel, her perfume lingering like a threat. 5 minutes, Lily. I'm not missing this because of you. The door clicked shut. I stood there for a moment, breathing through my mouth to avoid the vanilla stench, my mind racing. I remembered this day with painful clarity. The internship orientation, the studio tour, the way Madison Chen had introduced herself with that kilowatt smile, and how I'd thought I'd found a real friend in this cutthroat industry. The way producer Derek Vaughn had singled me out during the Q&A, called my question insightful, asked to speak with me privately afterward. That private conversation had led to a screen test. The screen test had led to a role. The role had led to Derek's hotel room, and his hand on my knee, and my stammered refusal, and his cold smile as he said, "You'll regret this." He'd been right. Within 6 months, blind items appeared on gossip sites. Anonymous sources claimed I'd slept my way into my role. Photos surfaced of me leaving clubs at 3 a.m., stumbling drunk except I'd been home studying lines. My co-star Madison gave a tearful interview about how difficult I was on set, how I'd changed since getting famous. The roles dried up, the friends disappeared. My reputation curdled into something toxic. And then, the pool. The water. The end. But Derek Vaughn had made one mistake in my first life. He'd been sloppy. Not with me, I'd been too scared and isolated to speak up, but with others. By the time I died in 2025, whispers had started circulating about him. Whispers that would become a roar 6 months after my death, when 3 actresses came forward with allegations spanning a decade. He'd been arrested in January 2026. I'd read about it in some afterlife waiting room of my consciousness, a newspaper headline burning itself into my memory. Hollywood producer Derek Vaughn charged with sexual assault elite artists management Seavers ties. Too late for me, but not too late for this life. I pulled on jeans and a simple black sweater, tied my hair back, skipped the makeup. In the mirror, I looked young and plain and invisible, exactly how I needed to look. Vanessa was waiting by her white BMW, checking her phone with the focused intensity of a general planning a siege. She glanced up as I approached, her lip curling slightly at my outfit. "That's what you're wearing? It's an internship orientation, not a red carpet. Everything is a red carpet if the right people are watching." She unlocked the car with a chirp. "Whatever. Get in." The drive to Elite Artists Management's headquarters in Century City was exactly as I remembered Vanessa talking nonstop about her connections and her 5-year plan. The 101 crawling with traffic, the morning sun glinting off glass towers, like broken promises. I let her voice wash over me, focusing instead on the sensory details I'd forgotten. The crack in the windshield shaped like a lightning bolt. The way her steering wheel was sticky with some spilled drink. The air freshener dangling from the rearview mirror, trying and failing to mask the smell of fast food and desperation. "Are you even listening?" Vanessa snapped. "You were talking about your callback for that Netflix pilot. That was 5 minutes ago." She merged aggressively, cutting off a Tesla. "I was asking if you'd heard anything about who else got into the program. Apparently, Madison Chen is in our cohort." My hands clenched in my lap. Madison Chen? You know, the influencer? 2 million Instagram followers? She just signed with Elite last month. Vanessa's voice dripped with envy. Her feed is literally perfect. I heard Derek Vaughn personally requested her for his new project. Of course he did. "Sounds like she's well connected," I said carefully. "Connections are everything in this industry." Vanessa glanced at me, her expression calculating. "You should try to befriend her. Maybe some of her shine will rub off on you." In my first life, I'd taken that advice. Madison and I had become inseparable within weeks' late-night rehearsals. Shared Ubers, whispered dreams over cheap wine. I'd trusted her completely. She'd been feeding information to Derek the entire time. Every insecurity I'd shared, Every boundary I'd mentioned, every weakness I'd revealed. He'd used it all to isolate me, manipulate me, destroy me when I refused to play along. And when his own reckoning came, Madison had pivoted seamlessly, posting a black square and a carefully worded statement about believing survivors and doing better. She'd been fine. I'd been dead. Maybe, I said. Vanessa shot me a sharp look. You're being weird today? Like, weirder than usual. Just focused. Well, unfocus your face. You look like you're going to a funeral. Yours, I thought, but I smiled instead. Better? Barely. She pulled into the parking garage beneath a gleaming tower of steel and glass. Okay, game faces. Remember, we're not just interns. We're future stars. Act like it. The elevator smelled like expensive cologne and anxiety. Vanessa checked her reflection in the polished doors, adjusting her hair, her necklace, her entire existence. I stood still, breathing slowly, preparing myself. The doors opened onto the 15th floor. Elite Artists Management's lobby was exactly as I remembered, aggressively modern, all white marble and chrome, with black and white headshots of their A-list clients covering one wall like a shrine. The receptionist's desk was an enormous slab of quartz that probably cost more than a car. Everything gleamed. Everything was cold. A woman in her 30s with a severe bob and a clipboard approached us. Lily Chen and Vanessa Park? That's us, Vanessa said brightly, extending her hand. So excited to be here. The woman didn't take her hand. I'm Andrea, program coordinator. You're late. The orientation started 10 minutes ago. Traffic, Vanessa began. Is something everyone else managed to account for? Andrea turned sharply. Follow me and silence your phones. We followed her down a hallway lined with more headshots, a rogues gallery of fame. I recognized most of them. Some I'd met, some I'd envied. All of them were trapped in the same machine that had killed me. Andrea pushed open a conference room door. 25 faces turned toward us. I scanned them quickly, cataloging, remembering. They're Madison Chen, sitting front row center, her highlighted hair cascading over one shoulder, her outfit perfectly calculated casual chic. She glanced at us with mild interest, her eyes passing over me without recognition, and lingering on Vanessa with the assessing gaze of a predator evaluating competition. Take a seat, Andrea said coldly. Mister. Vaughn was just beginning, and there he was. Derek Vaughn stood at the front of the room beside a projection screen, 43 years old, and handsome in that silver fox way that made people trust him. Tailored navy suit, Rolex catching the light, salt and pepper hair perfectly styled. He smiled at us, warm, paternal, welcoming. I'd forgotten how charming he could be. The smell hit me like a physical blow, sandalwood and cedar, his signature cologne. In my first life, that scent had been everywhere. In his office during our mentoring sessions, in the hotel hallway where he'd cornered me, in my nightmares, my vision tunneled, my lungs forgot how to work. No worries, ladies, Derek said smoothly. We're just covering the basics. Grab a seat, and we'll catch you up. Vanessa practically floated to an empty chair near Madison. I forced my legs to move, taking a seat in the back row, as far from Derek as possible. He continued talking something about Elite's legacy, their commitment to nurturing talent, the opportunities this program provided. His voice was honey and gravel, practiced and perfect. Everyone was leaning forward, captivated. I focused on breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The sandalwood smell was everywhere, choking me, dragging me back to the moment in his office when I'd realized I was alone with him and the door was locked and no one was coming to help. You okay? Someone whispered. I turned. The girl next to me was small and freckled, with red hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked concerned. Fine, I mouthed. She didn't look convinced, but turned back to the presentation. Derek was talking about their current projects now, a slate of films in development, a new prestige TV series, And then our flagship project this year is Midnight Bloom, he said, and the screen behind him filled with a moody poster, a girl's silhouette against a neon-lit cityscape. It's a limited series about a young woman navigating the dark side of fame. Raw, honest, unflinching. We're looking for an unknown for the lead. Someone fresh, hungry, real. The room buzzed with interest. I could feel the hunger radiating off every intern, including Vanessa, who'd straightened in her seat like a hunting dog on point. I knew this project. In my first life, Derek had offered me the lead after I'd turned him down privately. It had seemed like an olive branch proof that he wasn't vindictive, that he respected my talent regardless of my refusal. I'd been so grateful, so naive. The role had been incredible, challenging, career-defining, and Derek had used every moment of production to make my life hell, undermining me in front of the crew, giving my best scenes to Madison, who'd been cast as my best friend in the show, spreading rumors about my attitude. By the time the show premiered, I'd been too exhausted and broken to enjoy its success, and when Derek's campaign against me intensified, when the accusations and blind items started, no one had believed me. I'd been labeled difficult, ungrateful, a cautionary tale. Midnight Bloom had won 3 Emmys. Madison had been nominated for supporting actress. I'd been found dead before the ceremony. We'll be holding auditions for program participants next week, Derek continued. If you're interested, submit your materials to Andrea by Friday. We're looking for someone special. His eyes swept the room, landing on faces, evaluating. They passed over me without stopping. Good. I wanted to be invisible. The orientation dragged on tours of the offices, introductions to agents, a catered lunch of sad sandwiches and ambitious small talk. I stayed quiet, observing, remembering. Vanessa was in her element, laughing loudly at unfunny jokes, collecting business cards like infinity stones, positioning herself next to Madison at every opportunity. I watched her work, grudgingly impressed. She was good at this, the networking, the performance, the calculated charm. In my first life, I'd resented her for it. Now I just felt tired. Lily, right? I turned. Madison Chen stood beside me, holding a bottle of Pellegrino, her smile bright as a knife. Up close, she was even more beautiful enough for the eye remembered. Or maybe I'd just forgotten how beauty could be weaponized. Her skin was porcelain perfect. Her eyes were doe-wide and calculating. She radiated warmth like a space heater, artificial and effective. Yeah, I said. Madison? Guilty. She laughed, a practiced tinkle. Your sister is so sweet. We were just talking about the Midnight Bloom auditions. Are you going to submit? Her voice was honey over glass. I remembered this conversation, or a version of it. In my first life, Madison had befriended me at this exact moment, bonding over our shared nervousness, suggesting we rehearse together. It had felt like fate. Now I could see the calculation behind her eyes, the way she was already measuring me for a coffin. I don't think so, I said. I'm not really ready for something that big. Her perfectly microbladed eyebrows rose. Really? But this is like the opportunity of a lifetime. Derek Vaughn doesn't offer roles like this to nobodies every day. That's exactly why I'm not ready. I took a sip of water, kept my voice light. I'd rather learn the ropes first, build a foundation. I don't want to crash and burn before I've even started. Something flickered across her face, confusion, maybe, or disappointment. In my first life, I'd been so eager, so hungry. I'd submitted my audition materials within hours. This version of me didn't fit her script. That's very mature of you, she said slowly. Most people would kill for this chance. Most people aren't thinking long term. I met her eyes. What about you? Are you auditioning? Oh, definitely. I mean, I have to, right? She laughed again, but it sounded forced. Derek specifically mentioned he wanted fresh faces. And my manager thinks it could be huge for transitioning from influencer to serious actress. Makes sense. You'd be great. The compliment seemed to relax her. You think? I'm so nervous. I've never done anything this big. Just some commercials and a web series. She leaned in conspiratorially, and I caught her scent roses and something chemical, like hairspray. Can I tell you a secret? Sure. Derek asked to meet with me privately tomorrow to discuss the role. She made air quotes, her expression caught between excitement and anxiety. Is that normal? I don't want to seem inexperienced, but I've never had a one-on-one with a producer before. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what that meeting would entail. The locked door, the leather couch, his hand on her knee, then higher. The choice that wasn't really a choice, submit or lose everything. In my first life, Madison had made her choice. She told me about it months later, drunk on cheap tequila, crying into my shoulder. I did what I had to do, she'd sobbed. You don't understand how hard it is, how much you have to sacrifice. Then she'd help Derek destroy me anyway. Survival instinct, maybe? Or just cruelty. I could warn her. Right now, I could tell her exactly what Derek Vaughn was, what he'd do, what that meeting really meant. But I remembered the water closing over my head, the weight of her hands on my shoulders, the diamond bracelet scraping my skin. I think it's normal for important roles, I heard myself say. He probably wants to see if you have the right energy. Chemistry matters. Madison's face brightened. Right? That's what I thought. God, I'm so glad I talked to you. You're so calm about everything. Not like, she glanced over at Vanessa, who was laughing too loudly at something an agent said. Some people are trying so hard, you know? Yeah, I said, I know. We should be friends. She touched my arm lightly, her nails perfect ovals of ballet pink. I have a good feeling about you, Lily. I think we're going to help each other. The irony was a knife between my ribs. Maybe, I said. She squeezed my arm and drifted away, already scanning the room for her next target. I watched her go. This girl who would become a monster, who maybe already was one, who was walking straight into Derek Vaughn's trap, with her eyes wide open. I felt nothing. No guilt, no satisfaction. Just a cold, clean emptiness. Making friends already? Vanessa appeared at my elbow, her expression sour. What did Madison want? Just introducing herself. She barely looked at me during lunch. Vanessa's jaw was tight. I have 50,000 more followers than her on Instagram. I've been in this industry longer, but she acts like she's already a star. Maybe she will be. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. You're being weird again. Why aren't you more excited about Midnight Bloom? This is exactly the kind of break we need. You should audition, I said. You'd be perfect for it. She blinked, surprised. You think? Absolutely. You have the look, the training, the drive. This could be your moment. It was like watching a flower bloom in time-lapse. Vanessa's entire face transformed suspicion, melting into pleasure, then calculation, then determination. I am going to audition, she said slowly. I'm going to book this role. And then everyone will see that I'm not just some influencer's shadow. She looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time all day. You're not going to audition, are you? No. Why not? Because I don't want it. It was the truth. And it clearly baffled her. In Vanessa's world, wanting was the only currency that mattered. The idea that someone might refuse opportunity was incomprehensible. Well, she said finally, more room for me, I guess. Exactly. The rest of the orientation passed in a blur of handshakes and platitudes. By 5 p.m., we were released back into the Los Angeles smog, clutching folders full of paperwork and dreams. Vanessa was electric on the drive home, planning her audition, already mentally spending her Emmy. I stared out the window at the palm trees sliding past, their fronds brown-edged and tired. I need to find the perfect monologue, Vanessa was saying. Something raw but not too dark, vulnerable but strong. Do you think I should go with contemporary or classical? Maybe something from A Streetcar Named Desire? Or is that too obvious? Contemporary, I said. Derek likes modern, naturalistic performances. How do you know? Just a guess. She accepted this, too absorbed in her own thoughts to question. I need to get new headshots. These ones are 6 months old, and I should book a session with my acting coach. God, this is going to be expensive. Do you think Dad would? He'll give you whatever you ask for. This too was true. My father had remarried Vanessa's mother when I was 17, desperate for a new family after my own mother's death. He'd thrown money at his stepdaughter like it could buy him a fresh start, ignoring the way she looked at me like I was a stain on her designer couch. In my first life, I'd competed for his attention, his approval, his love. I'd lost every time. Now I just didn't care. We pulled up to the apartment building, a tired stucco complex in North Hollywood, the kind of place where aspiring actors went to marinate in rejection. Vanessa and I shared a 2-bedroom on the 3rd floor, paid for by my father's guilt and her mother's strategic tears. I'm going out tonight, Vanessa announced, checking her phone. There's an industry mixer in Silver Lake. You should come. Networking. I'm tired. You're always tired. She grabbed her purse. That's why you're never gonna make it. This industry belongs to people who show up. She left in a cloud of vanilla perfume and certainty. I stood in our small living room, mismatched IKEA furniture, a TV propped on milk crates, windows that looked onto a parking lot, and felt something loosen in my chest. This place was ugly, cramped. Nothing like the Venice apartment I'd had in my first life, with its ocean views and exposed brick. But it was mine, and I was alive. I made instant ramen, the cheap kind that came in styrofoam cups, and ate it sitting on the kitchen counter. The broth was too salty and too hot, burning my tongue, and it tasted like victory. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Hi, Lily, it's Madison. I got your number from the program directory.
Want to grab coffee this week and talk about the auditions?
Would love your perspective. I stared at the message for a long moment. In my first life, I'd responded immediately, eager and grateful. We'd met for coffee the next day. She'd seemed so genuine, so warm, so real. I deleted the message without responding. Another text, this time from Vanessa. Dad's asking about the internship. Can you call him? I'm too busy. I turned my phone face down and finished my ramen. That night, I dreamed of water, of Madison's face rippling above me, distorted and terrible, of Derek Vaughn's cologne filling my lungs like poison, of drowning over and over while people took photos from the pool's edge. I woke at 3 a.m., gasping, my sheets soaked with sweat. The apartment was silent. Vanessa wasn't home yet. I got up, drank water from the tap, let the cold shock my system back to reality. In the bathroom mirror, my face was young and scared, not the composed mask I'd worn all day. You're alive, I whispered to my reflection. You're alive and you know what's coming. That's enough. My reflection didn't look convinced. The next week unfolded like a play I'd already seen. Madison texted 3 more times before giving up. Vanessa obsessed over her audition, running lines at all hours, snapping at me when I didn't react with sufficient enthusiasm. The other interns jockeyed for position, forming alliances and rivalries that would dissolve within months. I kept my head down, filed paperwork, made coffee, observed. On Thursday, I saw Madison leaving Derek's office. Her lipstick was smudged. Her eyes were bright and hard. She walked past me without seeing me, her rose perfume trailing behind her like a confession. I knew that look. I'd worn it myself once, in another life. On Friday, Vanessa had her audition. She spent 2 hours getting ready, trying on 6 different outfits, settling finally on a silk camisole and high-waisted jeans that screamed effortlessly beautiful. Her makeup was perfect dewy skin, nude lips, just enough mascara to look like she'd been crying. How do I look? She demanded, posing in our living room. Like a star, I said honestly. She softened slightly. You really think I can do this? I know you can. It wasn't a lie. Vanessa was talented, in her way. She understood how to perform, how to become what people wanted to see. In another timeline, with different choices, she might have actually made it. But she was greedy, and greed made people stupid. Wish me luck, she said, grabbing her keys. You don't need it. After she left, I sat on the couch and waited. I knew how this would go. Derek would be charming, encouraging. He'd tell Vanessa she was exactly what he was looking for. He'd make her feel special, chosen, seen, and then he'd make his move. The question was, would Vanessa say yes? In my first life, I'd said no. It had destroyed me. Madison had said yes. It had destroyed her in different, slower ways. Vanessa came home 4 hours later, flushed and triumphant. I got it, she breathed, dropping her purse on the floor. Lily, I fucking got it. Derek said I was perfect. He said I embodied the character. He wants me to start table reads next week. That's amazing, I said. Congratulations. She was pacing now, electric with joy. He said I have raw magnetism. He said I could be the next big thing. He wants to introduce me to the network executives, get me in rooms with casting directors. This is it. This is my moment. What about Madison? I asked carefully. I thought she was auditioning too. Vanessa waved a hand dismissively. She's fine for Instagram, but she doesn't have real training. Derek said he needs someone with depth, someone who can handle complex material. She looked at me, her expression almost kind. Thank you for encouraging me. I know we don't always get along. But you were right. This role was meant for me. Yeah, I said. It was. She went to her room to call her mother, her voice carrying through the thin walls. Mom, you won't believe it. Everything's finally happening. I told you I just needed the right opportunity. I sat in the darkening living room, listening to her joy, and felt nothing but patience. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for it to spring. Table reads started the following Tuesday. Vanessa left early each morning in carefully curated outfits, came home late, buzzing with stories about the director, the other actors, the incredible energy on set. She posted behind-the-scenes photos on Instagram, her script, her director's chair, her name on a dressing room door. Her followers multiplied. Brands reached out. An agent from Elite called to discuss representation. Everything's falling into place, she told me one night, eating Thai takeout on the couch. It's like the universe is finally rewarding me for all my hard work. Maybe it is, I said. I'd started working at a coffee shop in Los Feliz, a tiny place called Groundwork, all reclaimed wood and succulents, frequented by screenwriters and unemployed actors. The pay was terrible. My feet hurt at the end of every shift. I smelled like espresso and steamed milk. It was the best job I'd ever had. My coworkers were real, a failed playwright named Marcus who told terrible jokes, a film student named Yuki who drew portraits on napkins, a single mom named Diane who always brought in homemade cookies. They didn't care about my connections or my potential. They cared if I showed up on time and pulled my weight. You're different, Marcus said one afternoon, watching me wipe down tables. Most actors who work here are just killing time, waiting for their big break. You actually seem like you want to be here. Maybe I do, I said. That's either very zen or very sad. Can't it be both? He laughed. I like you, Lily. You're weird, but you're honest weird. Honest. The word stuck with me. I'd spent my first life lying to myself, to others, about what I wanted, who I was, what I'd accept. I'd performed happiness while drowning. This life, I was just existing, working, breathing. It felt revolutionary. Meanwhile, Vanessa's star continued rising. Midnight Bloom started filming. She posted constantly selfies with the crew, artistic shots of the Hollywood sign at sunset, inspirational quotes about dreams coming true. The comments poured in, "So proud of you. You're glowing. Can't wait to watch." Madison Chen liked every post. So did Derek Vaughn. I watched from the sidelines, a ghost haunting my own story. 6 weeks into production, Vanessa came home at 2 a.m. and woke me up, pounding on my bedroom door. Lily, open up. I stumbled out of bed, my heart racing. She stood in the hallway, still in costume, a silver dress that caught the light, her makeup smeared, her eyes wild. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect." But her voice was shaking. "Derek wants to reshoot some of my scenes. He says they're not working. He wants me to try a different approach." "Okay, he wants me to be more vulnerable, more raw." She laughed, a brittle sound. "He gave me some notes tonight about my performance, about how I'm holding back." I knew those notes. I'd received them myself, in another life. They were designed to break you down, make you doubt yourself, make you desperate for approval. "What kind of notes?" I asked. "Just, he thinks I'm playing it too safe. He wants me to dig deeper, access real pain." She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw fear beneath the bravado. He asked about my childhood, about trauma, about what scares me. That's invasive. That's method acting. But she didn't sound convinced. "He's trying to help me give a better performance. He believes in me." "Does he?" Her eyes flashed. "Why are you being like this? Can't you just be happy for me? For once, I am happy for you," I said carefully. "I just want to make sure you're okay." "I'm fine. Better than fine. I'm starring in a Derek Vaughn production. Do you know how many girls would kill for this?" She turned away, her shoulders rigid. "You wouldn't understand. You gave up before you even started." She went to her room and slammed the door. I stood in the hallway, listening to her cry through the walls, soft, muffled sobs she thought I couldn't hear. In my first life, I would have knocked, offered comfort, tried to fix it. Now I went back to bed. The crying stopped after 20 minutes. Then I heard her on the phone, her voice low and eager. "Derek? Hi. Sorry for calling so late. I was just thinking about the notes you gave me, and I think I understand now what you meant." I pulled my pillow over my head and tried to sleep. The next morning, Vanessa was gone before I woke up. She left a note on the kitchen counter. "Early call time. Don't wait up tonight." Her handwriting was shaky. I went to work at Groundwork, made lattes, listened to Marcus's terrible puns, and tried not to think about what was happening on the Midnight Bloom set. But I knew. I'd lived it. The way Derek isolated his victims, made them feel special and then worthless, kept them off balance and desperate for his approval. Vanessa was in his web now, struggling, and every movement pulled the silk tighter. "You okay?" Yuki asked, catching me staring into space during the lunch rush. "You look like you're watching a car crash." "Something like that," I said. "Anything I can help with?" "No, but thank you." She squeezed my shoulder and went back to the espresso machine. That night, I came home to find Vanessa on the couch, still in costume, staring at nothing. The TV was off. The lights were off. She sat in the blue darkness, like a statue. "Vanessa?" She didn't respond. I turned on a lamp. In the sudden light, I saw her face makeup smeared, eyes red and swollen, a bruise forming on her upper arm in the shape of fingers. My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Nothing." Her voice was flat. Derek wanted to rehearse a scene. A difficult scene. He was showing me how to play it, how to make it real. "Did he hurt you?" "No. He was directing." "It's physical work. Sometimes you get bruises." She looked at me finally, her eyes hollow. "That's what he said. That real art requires sacrifice. That I need to be willing to suffer for the role." I sat down next to her, careful not to touch her. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "I signed a contract. We start shooting the big scenes next week, the ones that will make or break the show. Derek says if I can nail them, I'll be unforgettable. But if I can't handle it," she trailed off. "If you can't handle it, what?" He'll replace me. He said there are 100 girls who'd step in tomorrow. Madison Chen keeps texting him, asking if there are any other roles available. He showed me the messages. Her hands were shaking. I can't lose this, Lily. This is everything I've worked for. It's not worth don't. She stood up abruptly. Don't tell me what it's worth. You don't get to opt out and then judge me for fighting. I'm doing what it takes. That's the difference between us. She went to her room and locked the door. I sat in the living room for a long time, staring at the blank TV screen, seeing my own reflection distorted and dark. I could stop this. Right now, I could call the police, report Derek, and tell them what I knew from my first life. I could warn Vanessa about what was coming, but I remembered the water, the weight of her hands, the diamond bracelet. Wrong girl, wrong life, but the same lesson. Some people had to learn the hard way. I went to my room and tried to sleep, but the nightmares came anyway. This time, it wasn't me drowning. It was Vanessa, her silver dress billowing around her like a shroud, her mouth open in a silent scream. I woke up gasping, my phone showing 7 a.m. Through the wall, I could hear Vanessa on the phone again. I know, Derek. I know I can do better. Just give me another chance. I'll do whatever you want. I promise. The desperation in her voice was familiar. I'd heard it in my own voice once, begging for opportunities, for approval, for mercy. No one had saved me. I turned over and went back to sleep. The next 3 weeks were a slow-motion car crash. Vanessa stopped posting on Instagram, stopped eating regular meals, stopped sleeping normal hours. She came home late every night, exhausted and wired, her skin breaking out, her eyes developing permanent shadows. How's filming? I asked once. Fine, she snapped. Great. Amazing. Stop asking. Her mother called constantly. I could hear Vanessa lying through the wall. Everything's perfect, Mom. Yes, I'm eating. Yes, I'm sleeping. It's just a demanding schedule. That's normal for real actors. My father called once, asked to speak to Vanessa. When I told him she wasn't home, he said, "Well, tell her congratulations on the role." Her mother showed me the Instagram posts. Very impressive. I will, I said. And how are you, Lily? The question surprised me. In my first life, he'd rarely asked. I'm good, Dad. Working at a coffee shop, figuring things out, a pause. That's good. I'm glad you're being realistic about the industry. Not everyone can make it. No, I agreed. Not everyone can. After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my hand, feeling something that might have been grief for the relationship we'd never had, in either life. Then Vanessa came home, and the feeling evaporated. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, pulled into a greasy bun. Her clothes hung loose. She'd lost weight. The bruise on her arm had faded, but there were new ones on her collarbone, visible above her shirt collar. Don't, she said, seeing my expression. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you pity me. She dropped her bag on the floor. I don't need your pity. I need this role. And I'm almost done. 2 more weeks of shooting. Then it's over and I'll have the best footage of my career. At what cost? At whatever cost it takes. She whirled on me, her eyes blazing. You don't get it. You never got it. This industry doesn't reward nice girls who work at coffee shops and wait for permission. It rewards people who are willing to bleed. You're bleeding now, and I'll have scars to prove I survived. She grabbed a bottle of wine from the fridge, didn't bother with a glass. Derek says I'm giving the performance of a lifetime. He says I'm transforming before his eyes. He says when this airs, everyone will know my name. She took a long drink, wine staining her lips dark red. He's right, I said quietly. Everyone will know your name. Something in my tone made her pause. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just agreeing with you. She stared at me for a long moment, suspicion and exhaustion warring on her face. Then she shook her head. You're so weird, Lily. You always have been. She took the wine bottle to her room. I cleaned up the kitchen, washed the dishes she'd left for days. and wondered if this was what justice felt like, hollow and necessary and sad. The news broke on a Tuesday in June. I was at work, making a cappuccino for a regular, when my phone started buzzing. Text after text, notification after notification. Marcus looked over from the register. "Damn, you're popular today." I checked my phone. The first message was from a number I didn't recognize. "Have you seen the news about Derek Vaughn?" My hands started shaking. I opened Twitter. The top trending topic was numbered Derek Vaughn exposed. The Hollywood Reporter had published an investigation. 3 women, named and on the record, detailing years of sexual harassment, assault, and abuse by Derek Vaughn. The article was exhaustive: dates, locations, corroborating witnesses, physical evidence. One of the women was Madison Chen. Her statement was measured and brave. I thought if I stayed quiet and played along, I could build a career. Instead, I lost myself. I'm speaking up now so no one else has to make that choice. The article mentioned Midnight Bloom, mentioned that production was ongoing, mentioned that Elite Artists Management had been made aware of concerns about Derek's behavior months ago and had taken no action. Within hours, the story was everywhere. Elite released a statement. "We take these allegations seriously and have suspended Mr. Vaughn pending investigation." By evening, Derek had been arrested. By midnight, Midnight Bloom had been shut down. Production suspended indefinitely. All footage under legal review. My phone rang. "Vanessa," I answered. "Hello?" Sobbing, incoherent, gasping sobs. "Vanessa, where are you?" They shut it down. Her voice was raw. "They're not finishing the show. All my work, everything I did, it's gone." They said the footage might never air because of the legal issues, because of the investigation. "Where are you?" I asked again. "I'm at the studio. They made us pack up our dressing rooms. Security escorted us out." She laughed, a broken sound. "Like we were criminals, like we did something wrong. Come home." "I gave him everything, Lily." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I let him. I did things because he said it was for the art, for the role. And now there's no role, no show. Just me and what I did, and nothing to show for it." My chest tightened. This was the moment, the pivot point. I could offer comfort, sympathy, sisterhood, or I could tell the truth. "Come home," I said again. "We'll talk when you get here." She hung up. I told Marcus I needed to leave early. He took one look at my face and nodded. "Go. We've got this." The drive home felt endless. Traffic crawled. The radio played the story on every station: Derek Vaughn's arrest, the women's testimonies, the industry reckoning. Commentators debated and analyzed and performed outrage. No one talked about the girls like Vanessa, who'd made their choices and lost anyway. I got home before her, sat on the couch in the dark, waited. She came in an hour later, moving like a ghost. Her eyes were swollen, nearly shut. Her hands were shaking. She looked at me and started crying again. "I don't understand," she whispered. "How did this happen? How did I not know?" "You knew," I said quietly. She froze. "What?" "You knew something was wrong. You told me about the bruises, the uncomfortable notes, the way he made you feel. You knew. You just decided it was worth it." Her face went white, then red. "How dare you? I'm not judging you." I kept my voice level. "I'm just telling you the truth. You made a choice. It was the wrong choice, and now you're dealing with the consequences. I was trying to survive by letting him hurt you, by convincing yourself it was art, by ignoring every red flag because you wanted the role more than you wanted to be safe." She slapped me. The crack echoed in the small room. My cheek burned. We stared at each other, both breathing hard. "You don't know anything," she hissed. "You gave up. You quit before you even started. You have no idea what it's like to want something so badly you'd do anything for it." "Yes," I said. "I do. Something in my voice made her step back. I touched my burning cheek, felt the heat of it, and smiled. It hurt. Everything hurt. But I was alive to feel it. I know exactly what it's like, I continued. I know what it's like to compromise yourself for a dream, to tell yourself that this time will be different, that you can handle it, that the end justifies the means. I know what it's like to wake up one day and realize you've sold pieces of yourself you can't get back. Then why didn't you warn me? Her voice broke. If you knew, if you understood, why didn't you stop me? Would you have listened? Silence. We both knew the answer. You wanted this, I said softly. You fought for it. You took it from me. Actually, remember? At the orientation, when I said I wasn't interested in auditioning, and you said more room for me, you were so happy I was stepping aside. Her face crumpled. That's not fair. No, it's not. I stood up. None of this is fair. Not what Derek did. Not what happened to Madison and those other women. Not what happened to you. But you can't blame me for not saving you from a choice you insisted on making. I hate you, she whispered. I know. She ran to her room and slammed the door. I heard things breaking glass, wood, the sound of destruction, then more crying, deep and primal. I sat back down on the couch and waited for it to pass. It didn't pass. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the week after. Vanessa stopped leaving her room except to use the bathroom. She didn't eat, didn't shower, didn't answer her phone when her mother called. I left food outside her door. Sometimes it disappeared. Usually it didn't. The news cycle continued. More women came forward. Derek's lawyer released statements. Elite Artists Management fired their entire executive team. Midnight Bloom was officially canceled, all footage sealed as evidence. Madison Chen gave an interview on Good Morning America. She looked beautiful and composed, talking about her journey to speaking up, about believing survivors, about changing the industry. She didn't mention the girls who drowned in silence. On the 8th day, Vanessa emerged. She looked like a corpse, hollow-eyed, gray-skinned, her hair matted. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table. I need to know something, she said, her voice hoarse from disuse. Okay, did you know? Before the orientation, did you know what Derek was? I met her eyes. Yes. She absorbed this. How? Does it matter? Yes. I considered lying. It would be easier. But I was so tired of lies. Let's just say I had information you didn't, and I made a choice not to share it. Because you wanted me to suffer. Because I wanted you to face the consequences of your own choices. I leaned forward. You spent years undermining me, Vanessa. Taking credit for my ideas. Talking about me behind my back to Dad and your mom. Making me feel small so you could feel big. Did you think I didn't notice? Her eyes widened. That's not. We were competing. No, you were competing. I was just trying to exist. I stood up. But this isn't about revenge. This is about you learning that actions have consequences. That you can't claw your way over people and expect them to catch you when you fall. So you let me walk into a trap. I let you make your own choices. There's a difference. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she started laughing, a wild, unhinged sound. You're right, she gasped between laughs. You're absolutely right. I did this to myself. I was so desperate to beat you, to prove I was better, that I didn't even see the trap, and you just stepped aside and watched me fall into it. Yes. The laughing turned to crying. What do I do now? You survive. You heal. You make different choices. How? I thought about my first life, the water, the end, the way I'd let other people's cruelty define me until there was nothing left. You start by telling the truth, I said. To yourself, first. Then to others, if you're ready. You talk to a therapist. You report what Derek did to you, if you want to. You stop performing and start living. She wiped her face with shaking hands. I don't know how to do that. Neither did I. But you learn. She looked at me, really looked at me for the first time, maybe ever. You're different. Since the orientation. It's like you're a completely different person. Maybe I am. It's like you already knew how this would end. Like you'd lived it before. I said nothing. She stood up slowly, unsteadily. I need to shower. And eat something. And call my mom back. She paused at the hallway. Lily? Yeah? I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For all of it. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Okay, I said. She disappeared into the bathroom. I heard the shower start, heard her crying under the water spray. I made tea and toast, left it outside the bathroom door, and went to my room. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison Chen. Hey, Lily. I know we didn't really connect during the program, but I wanted to reach out. This has been such a difficult time. Would love to talk to someone who understands. Coffee? I stared at the message. In my first life, Madison had been my closest friend, my confidant, my murderer. Now she was just another survivor trying to rewrite her story. I thought about responding, thought about meeting her, telling her I knew what she'd done in another timeline, watching her face as she tried to process the impossible. Instead, I deleted the message. Some stories didn't need to be told. Some people didn't deserve closure. I blocked her number and went to sleep. The weeks that followed were strange and quiet. Vanessa started therapy, started eating again, started looking for a job, not in acting, but in marketing, using her social media skills in a safer arena. She moved out 6 weeks later into a studio apartment in Koreatown with a roommate who worked in tech. I need space, she said, packing her things. From this apartment, from the memories, from everything. I understand. Do you? She looked at me, her face thinner but clearer. Do you really? Because sometimes I think you're the only person who does. Maybe. She hefted a box. For what it's worth, I'm glad you didn't audition. I'm glad you didn't end up like me. Me too. After she left, the apartment felt enormous. I could breathe without inhaling vanilla perfume, could watch TV without hearing her on the phone, could exist without performing. I kept working at groundwork. Marcus got a play produced at a tiny theater in Echo Park, a dark comedy about failure. It was brilliant. Yuki finished film school and started working on a documentary about coffee culture. Diane's daughter got into UCLA. Life happened in small, real increments. I didn't audition for anything. Didn't go to industry events. Didn't network or hustle or perform the dream. Instead, I took a pottery class at the community center, got my hands dirty with clay, shaped imperfect bowls and lopsided mugs. The instructor, a woman in her 60s named Ruth, told me I had potential. You're patient, she said, watching me work. Most beginners rush. Try to force the clay, but you're listening to it. I've learned to wait, I said. Good skill to have. I started running in the mornings through Griffith Park, my feet pounding pavement as the sun rose over the Hollywood sign. My lungs burned. My legs ached. I was alive. 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 6 months after Derek's arrest, the trial began. I didn't watch it. Didn't follow the coverage. I knew how it would end guilty on multiple counts. Sentencing pending, career destroyed, legacy ruined. Justice, such as it was. Vanessa texted me once during the trial. They're calling witnesses today. Madison's testifying. I was subpoenaed, but my lawyer got me out of it. I don't think I could face him. Is that cowardly? I texted back. It's human. Take care of yourself. She sent a heart emoji. We didn't talk again for months. I was okay with that. 1 year after my rebirth, I was closing up groundwork on a Tuesday night when someone knocked on the locked door. I looked up from wiping down tables. Madison Chen stood outside, backlit by streetlights, looking smaller than I remembered. I almost didn't let her in, almost pretended I didn't see her, finished closing, left through the back. But curiosity won. I unlocked the door. We're closed. I know. I'm sorry. She stepped inside, and I caught her scent still roses, but fainter, less aggressive. I've been trying to reach you for months. You blocked my number. I get it, but I needed to talk to you. Why? She looked around the empty coffee shop, the mismatched chairs, the local art on the walls, the espresso machine gleaming in the dim light. This is where you work? This is where I work. It's nice, cozy. She turned back to me. I remember you from the orientation. You were so quiet. So removed. Like you were watching everything from a distance. I was. I wanted to be friends with you. You seemed different from everyone else. Less desperate. She laughed softly. I was desperate enough for both of us, I guess. Why are you here, Madison? She took a breath. I wanted to thank you. For what? For not auditioning. For stepping back. Her eyes were bright with tears. I've been thinking about it a lot. About how, if you'd gone for that role, if you'd competed with me and Vanessa, you might have ended up. You might have been another one of Derek's victims. But you just walked away. Like you knew. Maybe I did. How I looked at her, this girl who'd killed me in another life, who'd suffered in this one, who was trying to make sense of senseless things. Intuition, I said? Derek's cologne made my skin crawl. The way he looked at people made me feel sick, so I trusted my gut and stayed away. I wish I'd done the same. She wiped her eyes. The trial's over. He's going to prison. 23 years. And I should feel vindicated, but I just feel empty. Like, I won, but I lost too much to celebrate. That's normal, is it? She looked at me desperately. Does it get better? The nightmares, the shame, the feeling like you're contaminated? I thought about my first life. The drowning, the betrayal, the way trauma had followed me across death itself. It gets different, I said. Not better exactly, but different, more manageable. You learn to carry it. How long did it take you? I'm still learning. She nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? And will you be honest? Depends on the question. Do you think I'm a good person? The question hung between us like smoke. I could lie, could offer comfort, could tell her what she wanted to hear, but I'd promised honesty, at least to myself. I think you're a person who made choices in impossible situations, I said carefully. Some of those choices hurt people. Some of them hurt you. Whether that makes you good or bad isn't for me to decide. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Fair enough. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. Walking away when everyone else was clawing forward. That takes strength. Or cowardice? No. She looked back at me, and for a moment, I saw something genuine beneath the performance. It takes wisdom. I wish I'd had it. She left. I locked the door behind her and finished closing. Outside, the Los Angeles night was cool and clear, smelling of jasmine and car exhaust. I walked to my car, a used Honda I'd bought with my coffee shop savings, and sat in the driver's seat for a moment, breathing. In my first life, I died at 27, drowned by a girl who'd smiled to my face. In this life, I was 23, alive, working at a coffee shop and taking pottery classes and running in the mornings. I'd given up fame, fortune, the dream I'd chased so desperately before, and I'd never been happier. I started the car and drove home. The apartment was quiet and mine. I made dinner real food, vegetables and rice, nothing from a styrofoam cup. Ate it slowly, tasting every bite. Washed the dishes. Watered the plants I'd started keeping on the windowsill. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Saw Madison's interview on E! News. She mentioned the trial, the verdict. Said she's starting a foundation for survivors. Very on brand. I texted back. Good for her. Vanessa. Do you think she means it? Or is it just another performance? Me. Does it matter? If the foundation helps people, the motivation is secondary. Vanessa. When did you get so philosophical? Me. I've had time to think. Vanessa. Well, I'm proud of you. For what it's worth. You got out before the machine ate you. That's more than most of us can say. Me. Thanks. Vanessa. Coffee sometime? No drama? No competition? Just sisters catching up? I stared at the message. In my first life, Vanessa and I had never been close. In this life, we'd been enemies, then reluctant allies, then strangers. Maybe we could be something else. Me? Sure. Let me know when. Vanessa, next week, there's a place in Koreatown that makes amazing lattes. Me. Sounds good. I put my phone down and walked to the window. Outside, the city glittered a million lights, a million stories, a million people chasing dreams, or running from nightmares, or just trying to survive another day. I'd been all of those people. The dreamer, the victim, the survivor. Now I was just Lily, working at a coffee shop, making pottery, living small and real and mine. The Hollywood sign glowed on the hill in the distance, white letters promising magic and destruction in equal measure. I turned away from it and went to bed. That night, I dreamed of water. But this time, I wasn't drowning. I was floating on my back, looking up at stars, letting the current carry me where it wanted to go. When I woke up, my pillow was dry. 2 years after my rebirth, I was teaching a pottery class at the community center. Ruth had retired and recommended me as her replacement. I'd protested I was still learning myself, but she'd insisted. You know how to help people find patience, she'd said. That's the most important lesson. So now, every Thursday night, I taught beginners how to center clay, how to listen to the material, how to accept imperfection. One of my students was a former child actress, trying to find herself after years in the industry. Another was a stuntman recovering from a back injury. Another was a retired accountant who'd always wanted to make art but never had time. They came with their stories and their scars, and we made ugly bowls together. It was the most meaningful work I'd ever done. One Thursday, a new student showed up, a girl about 20, with nervous eyes and bitten nails. She introduced herself as Emma, said she'd just moved to LA, was trying to break into acting. But I'm also trying to have a life outside of it, she added quickly. You know, balance, hobbies. So I don't lose myself. Smart, I said. During the class, I watched her struggle with the clay pushing too hard, trying to force it into shape, getting frustrated when it collapsed. Breathe, I told her. The clay responds to tension. If you're tight, it'll fight you. Relax your shoulders. Let your hands guide instead of force. She tried again, softer this time. The clay rose under her palms, wobbly but standing. There, I said. See? Patience. After class, she lingered while I cleaned up. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Did you ever try to make it? As an actress? Once. In another life. She looked confused. What do you mean? I mean, I tried, and it wasn't for me, so I found something else. Do you regret it? I thought about my first life. The roles, the premieres, the hollow validation, the way I'd sold myself piece by piece for a dream that had turned into a nightmare. No, I said. I don't regret it at all. But don't you wonder what might have happened? If you'd stuck with it, I know what would have happened. I would have lost myself. This way, I got to keep me. She nodded slowly. My manager keeps telling me I need to be willing to do whatever it takes. That the girls who make it are the ones who don't have boundaries. My hands stilled on the clay I was wedging. Your manager is wrong, I said quietly. The girls who make it are the ones who know their worth. The ones who understand that no role, no opportunity, no dream, is worth sacrificing your safety or your soul. But what if I'm not talented enough to make it on my own terms? Then you're not meant to make it. And that's okay. There are 1,000 ways to live a meaningful life. Fame is just one of them, and it's not even the best one. She looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Everyone says you have to be willing to suffer for your art. Suffering doesn't make art better. It just makes you suffer. I met her eyes. If someone tells you that pain is the price of success, they're lying. Usually because they want to be the one inflicting the pain. That's really cynical. No, it's realistic. Cynical would be telling you to give up. I'm telling you to be smart, to trust your instincts, to walk away from situations that make your skin crawl, even if they look like opportunities. She was quiet for a moment. You sound like you're speaking from experience. I am. What happened to you? Nothing. I walked away before anything could. How did you know to walk away? I thought about the sandalwood cologne, the locked office door, the way Derek had looked at me like I was prey. I listened to the part of me that knew something was wrong. Even when everyone else was telling me I was being paranoid or difficult or ungrateful, I handed her a business card for a therapist I knew, one who specialized in industry trauma. If you ever need to talk to someone who understands this world, call her. She's good. Emma took the card, studying it. Thank you. I don't know why, but I feel like you just saved my life. You'll save your own life, I said. I'm just offering a map. She left, and I finished cleaning up, my hands covered in clay dust. My heart surprisingly full. This was my purpose now. Not stardom, not revenge. Just small moments of connection, helping people avoid the traps I'd fallen into. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. I locked up the community center and walked to my car. The night was clear and cool, smelling of eucalyptus and possibility. My phone rang. Vanessa. Hey, I answered. Hey, are you busy? Just finished teaching. What's up? I wanted to tell you something. I'm engaged. I stopped walking. What? I know, right? It's fast. We've only been dating 8 months. But he's good. Lily. Really good. He's a teacher. Middle school science. He has no idea who Derek Vaughn is. He's never asked me about my Hollywood phase. He just likes me. For me. That's amazing, Vanessa. I'm happy for you. Are you? Really? Her voice was uncertain. I know we're not close. I know I don't deserve your approval after everything. But it would mean something if you meant it. I mean it, I said, and I did. You deserve happiness. You deserve someone who sees you as a person, not a stepping stone or a conquest or a performance. She was quiet for a moment. I'm having a small engagement party next month. Just close friends and family. Would you come? In my first life, Vanessa and I had never reached this point. We'd been trapped in competition until the end, circling each other like sharks. In this life, we'd both survived different versions of the same nightmare. That had to count for something. I'll be there, I said. Thank you. Her voice cracked slightly. And Lily, I know I've said it before, but I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For not listening when you tried to warn me. In your way. For blaming you when it all fell apart. You were in pain. People in pain lash out. That's generous. No, it's just true. I leaned against my car, looking up at the stars barely visible through the light pollution. We both made choices, Vanessa. Mine were just different from yours. That doesn't make me better. Just luckier. I don't think it was luck. I think you were brave enough to walk away when I was too scared to. She paused. Anyway, I'll text you the details. And Lily, wear something nice. There will be photos. I laughed. Some things never change. Thank God for that. After we hung up, I sat in my car for a moment, processing. Vanessa was engaged, moving forward, building a life outside the wreckage. Maybe we both were. I drove home through the quiet streets, past the shuttered shops and glowing restaurants, past the people still chasing dreams and the ones who'd already caught them or let them go. At a red light, I glanced at the billboard overhead, an advertisement for a new streaming series. Madison Chen's face stared down at me, 50 feet tall, flawless, and untouchable. The tagline read, "Some stories demand to be told." I wondered if she'd found peace. If the foundation she'd started was helping people or just helping her image. If she ever thought about the girl she'd drowned in another timeline. Probably not. The light turned green. I drove on. At home, I found a package waiting outside my door, a small box with no return address. Inside was a ceramic bowl, professionally made, glazed in deep blues and greens that reminded me of water. There was a note in Vanessa's handwriting. "For teaching me that breaking isn't the same as broken. Thank you for letting me find my own way back." I carried the bowl inside, filled it with water, and set it on my windowsill where the morning light would catch it. It was beautiful, imperfect, real. Like everything worth keeping. 3 years after my rebirth, I opened my own pottery studio. It was tiny, a converted garage in Highland Park, with a kiln I'd bought used and 6 wheels I'd refurbished myself. The rent was cheap. The neighborhood was gentrifying, but not yet gentrified. My students were locals, mostly immigrants learning a new skill, kids from the high school art program, elderly people filling retirement hours. I called it Second Chance Ceramics. Marcus came to the opening, brought wine in a ceramic bottle he'd made himself. It leaked, but the thought counted. Yuki brought her girlfriend and took photos for my Instagram, which I updated once a month, maybe? Diane brought cookies and her daughter, now a UCLA sophomore studying engineering. Vanessa came with her fiancé. David, a soft-spoken man with kind eyes and clay dust already on his hands from trying the wheel. "She's been talking about this for weeks," he told me. "She's really proud of you." "I'm proud of her too," I said, and meant it. My father came, surprisingly. He walked around the small studio, touching the pieces I'd made, the student work on display, the sign I'd painted myself. "This is really yours?" he asked. "Every inch of it." "It's not what I expected for you, I know." He looked at me for a long moment. "But you're happy." "I am." "Then I'm happy for you." He pulled out his wallet, handed me a check. "For the business. No strings. Just a father supporting his daughter." I looked at the amount enough to buy a new kiln, upgrade my wheels, maybe hire a part-time assistant. In my first life, I would have refused it, too proud to accept help, too desperate to prove I could do it alone. Now I just said, "Thank you, Dad." His eyes got bright. "You're welcome, Lily." After everyone left, I sat alone in my studio, surrounded by clay and possibility. Through the window, I could see the sun setting over Los Angeles, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. My phone buzzed. An email from Emma, the girl from my Thursday class 2 years ago. "Hi, Lily. I wanted to update you. I left LA. I'm back in Ohio, working at my mom's bakery and doing community theater. I know that probably sounds like failure to most people, but it feels like success to me. I'm happy. I'm safe. I'm making art on my own terms. I wanted to thank you for showing me that walking away isn't the same as giving up. You probably don't remember me. I was just another student. But you changed my life. I hope you're well. I hope you're still making beautiful things." Emma, I read the email 3 times, feeling something warm and bright expand in my chest. This was success. Not the magazine covers or the red carpets or the validation I'd craved in my first life. This, helping one person avoid the trap, showing them there were other paths, giving them permission to choose themselves. I typed a response. "Emma, I remember you, and I'm so proud of you. What you're doing isn't failure, it's wisdom. Keep making art, keep choosing yourself, keep being brave, and thank you for letting me know." Messages like yours remind me why I do this work. Lily I hit send and sat back, watching the last light fade from the sky. In my first life, I died at 27, drowned by someone I'd trusted, mourned by people who'd never really known me. In this life, I was 26, alive, running a small pottery studio in a gentrifying neighborhood, teaching people to be patient with clay and themselves. I'd given up everything I thought I wanted, and I'd gained everything I needed. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, my name is Sarah. I got your number from Emma. I'm in a situation I don't know how to handle. An older producer is offering me opportunities but making me uncomfortable. I don't know if I'm being paranoid or if something's wrong. Emma said you'd understand. Can we talk?" I stared at the message, my heart racing. This was the choice. The same choice I'd faced with Vanessa, with Madison, with everyone who'd walked into Derek Vaughn's trap. I could ignore it, could say I'd done my part, saved who I could save, that I wasn't responsible for every girl who made bad decisions in a bad industry. Or I could do what no one had done for me in my first life. I could answer. I typed, "Yes, let's talk. When are you free?" The response came immediately. "Tomorrow? I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. Me. Tomorrow works. And Sarah, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. You're not paranoid. You're smart. Sarah." "Thank you. Emma said you were like a guardian angel. I didn't believe in those, but maybe I should. I wasn't an angel. I was just a girl who died once and learned from it. But if that knowledge could save someone else, then maybe the drowning had meant something after all." I locked up the studio and drove home through the Los Angeles night. The city glittered around me, beautiful and terrible, full of dreams and nightmares and people trying to navigate the space between. I'd been lost in this city once, had let it eat me alive. Now I knew the way out, and I'd spend the rest of this life showing others the path. At home, I made dinner, took a shower, sat on my small balcony with a cup of tea. The Hollywood sign glowed in the distance, that eternal promise of something more, something better, something just out of reach. I didn't want it anymore. I had enough. I was enough. The tea was warm in my hands. The night air was cool on my skin. My heart beat steady and sure in my chest. I was alive, and this time, I was going to stay that way. 5 years after my rebirth, I stood in a hospital room, holding Vanessa's newborn daughter. "Her name is Lily," Vanessa said from the bed, exhausted and radiant. "We're calling her Lily." I looked down at the tiny face, the closed eyes, the small hands curled into fists. "You named her after me? You saved my life," Vanessa said simply. "Even though I didn't deserve it, even though I'd been terrible to you, you let me make my own mistakes. But you didn't let me drown in them. You threw me a rope when I was ready to grab it." She wiped her eyes. "I want my daughter to be like you, strong enough to walk away, brave enough to choose herself, wise enough to know the difference between ambition and self-destruction." "That's a lot of pressure for a baby," I said, but my voice was thick. "She can handle it. She's got good genes." David appeared with coffee, kissed Vanessa's forehead, smiled at me. "Thank you for being here." Wouldn't miss it. I stayed for an hour, holding baby Lily, watching Vanessa and David navigate new parenthood with a mixture of terror and joy. When I left, the sun was setting, painting the hospital parking lot in gold. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, the girl I'd met with 5 years ago. "Guess who just got accepted to law school? I'm going to specialize in entertainment law. Protect the next generation. You inspired me." I smiled and texted back. "Proud of you. You're going to change the industry, Sarah." We all are, one conversation at a time. Over the years, there had been others. Girls who'd found my number through whisper networks, who'd reached out scared and confused, who'd needed someone to tell them that their instincts were right, that they didn't owe anyone their safety, that walking away was always an option. I'd met with each one, bought them coffee, listened to their stories, shared mine in vague terms, given them resources, phone numbers, permission to choose themselves. Some had stayed in the industry, armed with better boundaries. Some had left. All of them had survived. It wasn't the legacy I'd imagined in my first life. No awards, no magazine covers, no fame. But it was the legacy I wanted. I drove home as the city lights flickered on, one by one, like stars falling to earth. At a stoplight, I glanced at the car next to me. A girl sat in the passenger seat, maybe 19, scrolling through her phone. Her face was bright with hope and hunger, eyes fixed on something I couldn't see. I wondered what she was chasing, what she'd sacrifice for it, whether she'd learn to walk away before it was too late. The light turned green. We drove in different directions. I couldn't save everyone, but I could save some, and some was enough. 10 years after my rebirth, I was invited to speak at a panel about alternative careers in the arts. I almost declined. Public speaking wasn't my thing. The idea of sitting on a stage, talking about my choices, felt too exposed. But the organizer was persistent. We need voices like yours, people who chose differently, who found success outside the traditional path. So I went. The panel was held at a community college in Pasadena. The audience was small, maybe 50 people, mostly students, some older career changers. The other panelists were a graphic designer who'd left advertising, a musician who'd quit touring to teach, a writer who'd stopped chasing publication to focus on workshops. We were all refugees from the dream factory, in our way. When it was my turn to speak, I looked out at the faces, young and old, hopeful and tired, hungry and scared. I was supposed to be a star, I said. That was the plan. That was the dream. And I got close. Close enough to see what it would cost. Close enough to know I couldn't afford it. I told them about the internship, about Derek Vaughn's cologne and locked doors, about the choice I'd made to walk away, and the choice Vanessa had made to stay. I didn't mention the rebirth, the drowning, the first life. But I told them the truth that mattered. Some opportunities are traps, and knowing the difference can save your life. A hand went up, a girl in the front row, maybe 22. But how do you know? How do you tell the difference between a real opportunity and a trap? Your body knows, I said. Your instincts know. If something makes your skin crawl, if someone makes you feel small or scared or like you owe them something you don't want to give, that's your body telling you to run, listen to it. But what if you're wrong? What if you walk away from something real? Then you walk away. There will be other opportunities, but there's only one you. I leaned forward. The industry wants you to believe that every chance is your last chance, that if you don't say yes to everything, you'll never make it. That's a lie designed to make you exploitable. The truth is, real opportunities don't require you to compromise your safety or your dignity. Another hand. An older man this time. Do you ever regret it? Walking away? No, I said. I regret the things I didn't walk away from fast enough. But I've never regretted choosing myself. After the panel, students lined up to talk to me. They shared their stories, the auditions that felt wrong, the mentors who crossed lines, the choices they were afraid to make. I listened to each one, gave them my studio's card, told them they weren't alone. One girl, the last in line, waited until everyone else had gone. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. And I don't know if you'll believe me. Try me. I was supposed to audition for Derek Vaughn 10 years ago. I was in the Elite Artists internship program. But the day before my audition, I got food poisoning. Like, really bad. Ended up in the hospital. By the time I recovered, he'd been arrested. She looked at me with wide eyes. I've always wondered if I was lucky or if something was looking out for me. My heart stopped. What's your name? Jessica. I remembered her. From my first life. She'd been one of Derek's victims, one of the ones who'd testified at his trial, whose career had been destroyed by him years before mine. But in this life, food poisoning had saved her. Sometimes the universe intervened. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes you had to save yourself. You were lucky, I said. And smart. Your body was trying to protect you, even if it was through food poisoning. She laughed shakily. That's a weird way to think about it. Weird doesn't mean wrong. She hugged me suddenly, fiercely. Thank you for talking about this, for making it okay to walk away. Thank you for listening. After she left, I sat in my car in the parking lot, hands shaking. 10 years. A decade since I'd opened my eyes in that twin bed and realized I'd been given a second chance. I'd spent those years quietly, deliberately, building a small life that was mine. And somehow, that small life had rippled outward, had touched people I'd never met, had changed trajectories in ways I'd never know. Maybe that was the point. Not the grand gesture, not the dramatic revenge, not the satisfying downfall, just the quiet choice to do differently, to be a light in the dark, to tell the truth when everyone else was selling lies. I drove home through the familiar streets, past the studio I'd built, past the coffee shop where I still picked up my morning latte from Marcus, now the owner, past the community center where I still taught Thursday classes. My life was small, contained. Nothing like the glittering dream I'd chased in my first life, but it was mine, and it was enough. That night, I sat at my pottery wheel and made a bowl. My hands knew the movements now, centering, opening, pulling up the walls. The clay responded to my touch, rising and shaping, becoming something new. I thought about Vanessa's daughter, now 5 years old, taking her first pottery class with me next week. I thought about Sarah, graduating law school, ready to protect the next generation. I thought about Emma, happy in Ohio, making art on her own terms. I thought about Jessica, saved by food poisoning and chance. I thought about all the girls I'd never meet, who'd hear these stories secondhand, who'd learn to trust their instincts, who'd walk away when something felt wrong. The bowl took shape under my hands, imperfect, asymmetrical, beautiful in its flaws. Like me, like all of us, I trimmed the excess clay, smoothed the rim, and set it aside to dry. Tomorrow I'd glaze it, next week I'd fire it. And then it would be complete transformed by fire into something stronger than it had been. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I hadn't seen in years. Madison Chen. I stared at it for a long moment before opening. Lily, I know it's been a decade. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm writing a book about my experiences in the industry, about Derek, about survival. My publisher wants me to interview other women who were in the elite program, women who made different choices. I thought of you. Would you be willing to talk? I read the message 3 times. In my first life, Madison had been my friend, my confidant, my killer. In this life, she'd been my almost friend, another survivor, a stranger with a famous face. Now she wanted my story. I thought about saying no, about keeping my privacy, my small life, my hard-won peace, but then I thought about all the girls who might read that book, who might see themselves in these stories, who might learn that walking away was an option. I typed, "I'll talk to you," but not for the book, just between us. You can use the themes, the lessons, but not my name, not my details. I've built a life outside of all that, and I want to keep it that way. The response came quickly. I understand. Thank you. Can we meet next week? Me, my studio. I'll text you the address. Madison. You have a studio? Me, pottery. I teach. A long pause. Then, that's beautiful. I'm happy for you. I didn't respond. Just set my phone down and went back to the wheel. Madison arrived on a Thursday afternoon, driving a Tesla and wearing sunglasses that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She looked older, not in a bad way, just in a way that suggested she'd lived through things. Her rose perfume was gone, replaced by something lighter, less aggressive. "This is your place?" she asked, looking around the studio. "This is it. It's perfect." She touched one of the student pieces, drying on a shelf, a lumpy mug made by a 10-year-old. "You did this, built this, all on your own, mostly." I had help. She turned to me, and I saw something raw in her face. "I looked you up, over the years, tried to find out what happened to you after the internship, but you just disappeared. No social media, no industry presence, nothing. It was like you vanished. I did vanish, on purpose. Why? Because I didn't want to become what the industry wanted me to be." She absorbed this. And what was that? A victim, or a villain, or a cautionary tale. I gestured to a pair of stools near the window. "Sit. Do you want tea?" "Please." I made tea, green tea with honey, served in mugs I'd made myself. We sat in the afternoon light, steam rising between us. "I'm not doing well," Madison said suddenly. "I mean, I look like I am. The foundation, the book, the interviews. But inside, I'm not okay. The nightmares haven't stopped. The shame hasn't stopped. And I keep thinking about the girls I didn't help. The ones She trailed off. "The ones you threw under the bus to save yourself," I finished quietly. She flinched. "Yes. Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're the only person from that time who doesn't want something from me. Who didn't compete with me, or use me, or need me to be a certain way." She looked at me with desperate eyes. "You just left. And I need to understand how. I need to know how you walked away and built something real while I'm still trapped in the wreckage." I sipped my tea, choosing my words carefully. "I walked away because I saw what staying would cost, and I decided I wasn't willing to pay it. But how did you see it? How did you know?" Derek's cologne made me want to vomit. The way he looked at people made my skin crawl. Every instinct I had screamed danger. I met her eyes. "Didn't you feel it too?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Yes, but I thought that was the price. That discomfort, that fear, that feeling of being hunted, I thought that was just how it worked. That if I could endure it, I'd come out the other side as someone who'd made it. And did you make it? I'm famous. I have money. I have a platform." Her voice was hollow, but I lost myself. "And I don't know how to get her back." "You start by telling the truth. To yourself, first." "What truth?" "That you made choices that hurt people. That you survived by sacrificing others. That your success has blood on it." I kept my voice gentle but firm. "You can't heal until you acknowledge what you've done, not just what was done to you." Tears spilled down her cheeks, smearing her perfect makeup. "I helped him, Lily. I fed him information about other girls. I told him who was vulnerable, who was desperate, who would say yes. I thought if I was useful, he'd protect me. But he just used me to hurt more people. I know." She looked up sharply. "How do you know?" "Because predators always recruit accomplices. It's how they operate. And they always choose people who are hurting, who are scared, who will do anything to feel safe." I leaned forward. "You were a victim and a perpetrator. Both things can be true. How do I live with that?" "You acknowledge it. You make amends where you can. You use your platform to do better, and you accept that some people will never forgive you, including yourself. That's bleak. No, it's honest. Bleak would be pretending it didn't happen, or blaming everyone but yourself." I refilled her tea. "You asked me how I walked away and built something real. The answer is, I stopped performing. I stopped trying to be what other people wanted. I stopped chasing external validation. I just existed. And slowly, I figured out who I actually was. And who are you? Someone who makes pottery, who teaches patience, who helps girls avoid the traps I saw coming." I smiled slightly. "It's not glamorous, but it's mine." Madison wiped her face, leaving mascara streaks. "I don't know if I can do that. Walk away. I've been performing for so long, I don't know who I am without an audience." "Then maybe the book is the wrong project." Maybe you need to stop telling your story for public consumption and start living it for yourself. My publisher will kill me. Your publisher doesn't have to live in your skin, she laughed. A broken sound. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I'm so scared. What if I walk away and there's nothing underneath? What if I'm just empty? Then you fill yourself up with real things, with hobbies and friendships and quiet mornings, with work that matters, even if no one's watching. I stood, went to a shelf, and pulled down a bowl I'd made years ago, one of my early pieces, flawed but functional. Here, take this. She took it carefully. What is it? A reminder that imperfect things can still be useful, that you don't have to be polished and perfect to have value. I met her eyes. You can be broken and still hold water. She stared at the bowl, then at me. Thank you. I don't deserve your kindness. Probably not. But I'm not giving it to you because you deserve it. I'm giving it to you because I choose to. She left an hour later, the bowl wrapped carefully in newspaper, her face bare of makeup, her eyes clearer than when she'd arrived. I didn't know if she'd take my advice. Didn't know if she'd walk away from the spotlight or keep performing her redemption for the cameras. But I'd said what needed to be said. The rest was up to her. That night, I taught my Thursday class. Baby Lily, now 10 years old, was there, her hands covered in clay, her face scrunched in concentration as she shaped a lopsided cup. It's not working, she complained. It keeps collapsing. That's because you're trying to force it. The clay knows when you're tense. Relax. Breathe. Let it rise on its own. She tried again, her small shoulders dropping, her hands gentle. The clay responded, rising into a wobbly but standing form. I did it, she gasped. You did. See? Patience. Vanessa watched from the corner, smiling. After class, as I cleaned up, she helped me stack chairs. Madison Chen was here today, she said casually. I saw her leaving when I was dropping Lily off. Yeah, she wanted to talk. About the past. How to move forward. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Do you think she will? Move forward? I don't know. That's up to her. I used to hate her. For getting out clean while She trailed off. But now I just feel sad for her. She's still trapped in it. Still performing. Still trying to make it mean something. And you're not? No, I'm free. She looked at her daughter, now washing clay off her hands at the sink. I have a life I chose. A family I love. A job that pays the bills without eating my soul. I'm free, Lily. And that's because you showed me it was possible. You freed yourself. I just didn't stop you from learning. Same thing. Maybe it was. After they left, I sat alone in my studio, surrounded by the evidence of small, patient work, bowls and cups and plates, made by students learning to trust the process. Each one imperfect. Each one valuable. This was my legacy. Not fame, not fortune. Just this, a space where people could come and learn that imperfection was okay. That walking away was brave. That small lives could be beautiful. The Hollywood sign glowed in the distance, visible through my studio window. Once, it had called to me like a siren song, promising everything I thought I wanted. Now it was just a landmark, a reminder of the path I hadn't taken. I turned off the lights and locked up, drove home through the quiet streets, made dinner in my small kitchen, and fell asleep in my own bed, safe and alive and mine. No nightmares, no drowning, no water closing over my head. Just sleep, deep and dreamless, and earned.